Hello everyone, welcome to the stream here. Sorry about that. We're having some technical difficulties. I'm still kind of getting the ropes of the streaming thing. I'm not sure. like it's always a bit of a 2, 3, 4 step process to figure it out. But today we're getting into using triplet forms. We actually started this yesterday, but I had some issues with the webcam. The sound on it was trash, actually. It was not good at all. So I don't know why I was distorting my voice really bad, but it didn't really matter because it was a very quick stream. You guys didn't miss too much. We just sort of got into this topic a little bit. And we're doing triplets in lo-fi hip hop, how we actually use it. And I always thought that this is like a very interesting topic because triplets might be seen as sort of an obscure thing, not really for like drummers, because drummers, when you take drum lessons, if you ever do, you'll probably learn like the benefit of drums is all about coordination. So you're going to learn how to play triplets and you're going to learn how to count them with your drum teacher and all that stuff. But as beat makers on our computers, triplets might be seen as sort of an obscure thing. And in this case, it's really not. I mean, you get so many unique grooves from doing it. This is one of the examples we did from last stream. Now it's pretty sparse. We bring in the music behind it. So it has a really sparse, kind of cool sound. It's at 60 BPM. It's kind of crazy too because what we did was we took a drum fill from Dazed and Confused, a Led Zeppelin song, a John Bonham sort of drum fill, and basically like put the samples onto that, took that drum fill and just recomposed it into a nice sparse beat at 60 BPM as opposed to like 200, which is what that rock song was at. And so you literally take a popular, super popular drum fill from rock music and see it in this context where it's basically recomposed down. And everything that's happening here is mostly just, obviously I have 2 snares. The pink snare is happening on a triplet form. But the rest of it, if I hit Control 3 or Command 3, you can see that there. So triplet, 8th right there. But most of it's actually happening from parallel delays. So one of the things I always tell people, like regardless of the DAW that you're in, you want to have a delay, and it could be a stock delay, like Echo and Ableton has dotted and triplet form synced up delay signals you can do. But you want to have at least that. Like most delays are going to sync to tempo, plug-in delays. But you also really want to look for dotted and triplet forms because that's where you get all these really interesting syncopations. And that's basically what I'm doing. On the hi-hat, you're looking at a triplet grid right here, but the hi-hat's just landing on the downbeats. So I'm just going to solo that. And I'm adding all those ghost notes basically through triplet form. And I'm also band passing those to make them sound more like ghost notes so they're not as related to the original signal. And then in the snare, I'm doing basically the same exact idea, just with a different delay setting. So it's just adding a single delay as opposed to a ping pong. And I've got some parallel reverb on that parallel delay chain. So parallel processing with triplets. And if you have a delay plugin like Echo Boy, FL Studio has that newer plugin that is like blue, like light blue shading. I forget what it's called. That has triplets in it. Echo and Ableton has it. That's one of the things you want to try looking for, and just keeping things simple so it doesn't have to be super complicated. But it sounds so distinct. The groove is there. There's something about it that is just very distinct. And that's the thing about triplets that I always try to like put out there for beat makers. I think, well, here's the thing. Usually people run into triplets when they're doing trap because triplet hi-hats was very popular, like 5-7 years ago. Like a lot of the Chicago drill, a lot of the Chief Keef stuff. Listen to Chief Keef, you'll hear those triplet hi-hats. There's a really famous producer, I forget his name, who did a lot of the Chief Keef beats. There's a song like Things I Don't Like. You listen to the hi-hats, there's so much going on, and a lot of it is triplet hi-hat patterns, really fast ones. It does work really well in trap. In drill, they tend to use dotted eighth note patterns. And in lo-fi hip-hop, when you slow things down into this style, like triplet hi-hats just give you so much great groove. It's amazing. Here's another fun one we did from yesterday. So I'm kind of creating the same idea. I'm using ghost notes. I do some interesting stuff where I have like a little tail here where I'm adding some interesting stuff at the very end of that 2-bar phrase. And the ghost notes is really creating, I'm really simulating the idea of like my hi-hat pattern. Again, it's very simple, but the ghost notes are creating the sound of when a lot of drummers play like a 6/8 beat. 6/8 is another way of saying 3/4 time. It has a very nice sort of cadence to it or feel. And that's kind of simulating that sound. So essentially, like, again, once you start getting into rhythms and stuff, just knowing what to look for really goes a long way. But the actual pattern on the screen is very simple. So you can start with a very simple pattern. You can have a couple of things that are working in triplet form. See, if I go to my triplet grid, we can see where those things are. But in the case of this example, there's basically nothing that's actually lining up to triplet form. Everything's lining up to what I call straight form. So here you're seeing everything is basically lined up somewhere in an eighth note subdivision. All of the triplet action is happening in the delays. So just another example, that was some bass thrown in there too. Here's another example we did. And you're actually hearing just these 3 drum stems. So really simple, and in this case, we are using more of the triplet form now. And you can kind of see like where it's happening. If I just make this tighter subdivision, so 16th note triplet form, and you can see like basically a lot of the interesting stuff is happening with the hi-hats, which are literally hitting on triplet eighth notes. And we even did some comparisons before where we showed the triplet eighth notes versus straight eighth notes down here, which is kind of interesting. So you can listen to these. This is the one we were using in that beat. And you can hear when we go back to, a regular eighth note pattern. It's almost like the hi-hat sounds like it's at a different BPM, which is kind of interesting. And then you can go to other subdivisions. That's obviously triplet eighth notes when we fill things in a little bit more. And then a lot of times, in trap, super popular to have triplet 16th. And all these things sound more understandable in context, right? So once you have your snare and your kick in, it's going to change the groove immensely. And we can do that real quick just by switching these out with our kick and snare pattern. Now we go back to using, this subdivision here. Now we'll go to straight eighths. Combination of the subdivisions there. And then finally our triplets again. So one of the takeaways of this is, again, triplets are very easy to incorporate if you keep your beat exactly the same way you would write it. All right, so you're writing your beat using straight note form, eighth notes, 16th notes, basically, right? Then you say, okay, I'm going to take my hi-hat. I'm going to go to triplet grid, enable to me to control 3 or command 3 if you're on Mac, and I'm going to write in a triplet pattern on my hi-hat. That's immediately going to change your groove a tremendous amount. You could even keep the hi-hat in a straight form, but put it on the parallel delay in triplet form. Immediately changes the feel. And it, just to zoom out a little bit, in terms of ideas for beat making, what's kind of interesting, and I found this to be a pattern with beat making, when it comes to groove, especially in lo-fi hip hop, if you have your hi-hats, like you do interesting things with the subdivisions, or you do interesting things with the way the notes swing, or you even unquantize your MIDI notes or unquantize your audio clips that you see here on the screen, that's going to change the feel of your track immensely. And I'd love to do a stream someday where we like kind of dive into producers like Jay Dilla, for instance, who really popularized that. Also Pharrell Williams from the Neptunes and those great producers do that. So very common thing. You'll run into it. You'll see a lot of producers will give you advice. They'll say, hey, push your hi-hats back a little bit. So even though I'm doing something interesting in this pattern, for instance, I might go in, turn off the grid, and just push things a little bit late. And that's going to add tons of groove, even more groove to the track. So you can hear that difference there. So yeah, that's kind of where we left off. I think we might have tried a couple of other things. This was like a beat that we started working on over here. I'll just turn this on, move it down. Kind of just recapping, because that was a very quick stream we did on it. And we can obviously get into other examples of it for sure today. By the way, if you're new to the channel or new to the stream, be sure to check the link in the description below. You can hit the bell icon so you don't miss any streams. There's also a link there to the free loops library. There's tons of great downloads there that I put together really over the years. So a lot of free stuff you can check out and download for yourself. Link is in the description below. And if you're looking for some videos to watch on music production specifically for beats, I have a new tutorial out that basically chops down like 5 main tips for making your beats better that you might find interesting as well. But today we're just getting into triplets. And I think this is what we left off with. So again, not a ton going on with it, but the groove is really distinct. So that's basically the idea here. Your hi-hats can be a great starting point to use triplet form. It's a lot of fun to get into. And I think there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube about drill, because drill definitely had like a period of time where like so many producers were doing it just because, you know, you could sell a lot of beats doing drill for the last like 3-4 years. And that's a cool genre because it comes from the UK, and a lot of those great rhythms that we learn about, like how to make your drum patterns more interesting, I've actually learned it from like drill, like UK drill and dubstep. So not, when I say dubstep, I don't mean like Skrillex, I mean like Burial or Fortet or a lot of those UK artists, because they have such distinct rhythmic ideas. Genres like two-step, garage, jungle, all those genres are really great for learning more about rhythm, even if you're at a slower tempo style music like lo-fi hip-hop. That's kind of the secret, or one of the secrets, I guess you could say. But drill's interesting because then you have the dotted eighth note sound. So then people ask, you know, what's the difference? And basically with a dotted eighth note, here, I'll just go over here. It's a pretty simple way to understand how to build it. So if I go in and turn on, actually we'll leave the metronome off. And I think this should be fine for us today. I'm basically in, oh wait, I need to get a triplet form for this. Make sure my grid is not in triplet form. Okay, so now I'm in I know we got to be a higher subdivision because we're at 60. That's fine. So what you do for dotted eighths, you're going to set your grid. I mean, a lot of times people's grid is at 120. So this would be in 16th. I'm at 32nd because I'm in 60 BPM. But you're going to basically, if you're in a straight subdivision, you're going to see these two blocks in between. This is like a visual way to understand it for dotted eighth rhythm. And then you're going to have another two blocks between your hi-hat. And then the pattern repeats. So there's going to be that one block little skip. That's basically dotted eighth rhythm. And these might sound a little bit like apples and oranges today, but that's okay because we're just messing around. So that's the sound really in drill. It would obviously be faster, right? But that's dotted eighth versus triplet. Let's make the volumes right. All right, let's switch them out. Let's make this a little quieter. Now switch to triplet. And this is a little more chilled out sounding, so maybe we'll just go in and mess with it a little bit. Triplet form, Control 3 or Command 3 if you're on Mac for Ableton. And I just want to make it a little bit busier. Maybe match the frequency of that dotted eighth, and then we'll compare them. Switch out. Dotted. So again, it's crazy how much things change just if the hi-hat has that triplet or dotted eighth form. Now we've kind of heard some dotted eighth stuff here. It's crazy how much it changes the groove of your track. And I think it's just fun to do a stream on it because it's so overlooked. It's wild. It's like, it seems like an obscurity. And some things can be, like polyrhythms, or like you have triplets, you can have quintuplets, which is 5 beats per subdivision, right? It can get obscure for sure, but yeah, it just gets very interesting when you kind of compare them. So we have that example there. You know, the variations are endless. Like I could go and you could take this same exact idea with the same kick snare pattern and then just be like, well, some parts will just be silent, and turning it off and on is like one of my favorite things to mess with because, I mean, you know, low key, it's kind of a tip. Playing with space is like really useful in beats. Try one at the very end there. It's interesting. And that especially works well if you have the subdivision be even faster, right? So maybe we'll go with something like this. This is obviously a little more aggro for lo-fi hip-hop, but it's interesting, you know? You can kind of go in and bandpass more heavily, make the hi-hat more subtle. Do something weird, you know? Oh, I thought that was a bug for a second. Couldn't reverse the samples. And like another thing we talked about in the last stream was tags or fills or cadences or I think I said tails, right? You'll see a lot of that in beat making. Like if you have 2 bars, have the last beat or the last bar, you know, do something different. 4 bars, have the 4th bar do something different. Sort of the ending area of your beat, because it kind of ties together the idea. Or if it's a very repetitive phrase, it makes things a little more interesting for the listener. So yeah, there's that stuff there. So taking a break from hi-hats, because I just think this is a lot of fun when you go into your kick sound. By the way, if you like any of these samples, I create tons and tons and tons of drums, sample from my Slingerland drum kit. You can check the link in the description. This is actually from a library called Late Night Noir, which is about 250 samples, full drum library, Midi, synth one-shots. It's got like literally everything in it. That's actually at my website. Link is in the description. You could check that out if you like. So all the drums you're hearing, I've made myself. So we go into kicks on triplets. And grab the snare here if I can. This is like a move that I really like. So I don't know. I just like that. It's a little bit aggro for lo-fi hip hop, in my opinion. You might disagree, but and I wouldn't do it maybe another time, but it just does something kind of interesting. So you have like a pattern like that, maybe. Even take. It just sounds cool in the kick. It's going to really change up the feel of the beat. Excuse me. So that makes it kind of cool. And then a lot of times the balance of it is like, once you start doing this with triplets, you might want to, like, if you have kind of a busy kick, you could still keep the hi-hats following triplet form, but you just keep it more simple. Hear that hi-hat better. All right, so we could put some music behind this. So the idea with this, which is really cool, is you can go into like snares, kicks, that kind of form, like kind of grouping them together, and then it hits, and then you can mess around with the syncopation after that. That's really fun with kicks and snares. But now where I think things get really interesting from like just a composition perspective is the way the music responds to your beat. So like we always talked about like the flavor of triplets, and triplets, when you're doing it in your beat, it's going to be fun. Like you're going to hear things differently all of a sudden, because doesn't sound random, but it's definitely different, right, than usually what we're used to. So what you can do now is have your music follow that idea. And the easiest way to do it is just grab a lo-fi piano sound. So if you're making lo-fi hip hop and you need like better lo-fi sounds, I have an FL and an Ableton preset you can download for free, and link is in the description. I've done YouTube shorts on that and everything, but if you're new to the channel, you can check that out. Link is in the description. And then what we basically do is like we get like a cool piano sound. I think I built one here, right? Yeah, so we got one here. I'll just turn that on. And you can have the beat basically, let's just move this over so you have some space. There we go. Have the chord changes follow the triplet form. So this is kind of cool. Like you could do it here. One way I actually like to do it. Oh, let's try it this way. Let's just try something for fun. So let's play this beat. Good, I got my keyboard on. I don't think the latency's too bad. And a lot of times people say like, when you make a bass line, try and make it follow the kick. That's very typical in different styles of music, including hip hop. In this case, we try to make the chords follow what's going on in the kick. So if your kick is hitting 1, 2, 3, you could have and kind of follow that. You'll go a little lower, right? So you have that. So immediately the music is just more interesting. I'll was trying to get clever there. I tried to hit that G minor on the very end of it, which probably doesn't sound good anyway. But yeah, once the music starts to follow it, it sounds really interesting. Let's just fix that. I'll just quantize it. You can see my chords here. This is just in C minor, diatonic, 1 flat 7, flat 6, and then I hit the 4 chord, the F minor, 5. I'm sorry, I'm speaking in a number system. If that's confusing, it's C minor 7. It's a G minor with a B flat, but you could just do B flat major 6 if you want, and then A flat major 7 right there. Repeat that form. Hit F minor 7, G minor 7. Oh, that's just a G minor, yeah. I don't even know what I just did there, but I like it. So yeah, the music is just like, oh wow, like that's fun. It changes everything. It really does. Triplets. This is even the right bass. But who cares? What's up, V? Welcome to the stream, buddy. Mixing up EDM with lo-fi? I don't know, we could try it someday. I'm trying to do triplets today. So this is like so distinct. This is so different, right? Like, I mean, to me it is. That's my opinion. Because my ears, like, I feel like when we're little kids and we listen to like anything on the radio, we're going to hear a little bit of triplets, you know, but when you're learning how to sing a song, when you're a little kid, they're trying to teach you to be musical, you know, at least in the West, they're just teaching you downbeats. And eventually you learn that there's syncopation to things. But like, you know, we don't learn that when we're little kids. They don't teach us in kindergarten to clap in triplets to this song, you know, triplet, like they don't teach us that. So when you incorporate it into your music, it immediately sounds like, what is this? Because it's not wrong, but it's not straight form. That's what I call it, straight form. If you got quarter, eighths, 16ths, 32s. By the way, if anyone wants to yell out chords, we can put them into some of these beats here. I don't mind. We were doing that in the last stream, and it was actually really fun. We were throwing in some diminished chords and some craziness. It got very tasty. But yeah, so you can do a lot with it. The chords are a lot of fun, and then when you do these turnarounds, a lot of times if you're like looking for, like I just kind of played something like off the top of my head, but you could do them with like, let's say, like typical turnarounds, because you know it's lo-fi hip hop today, so like that's gonna be you know, very much so related to kind of the more R&B jazzy kind of sounds. I mean, not necessarily, but kind of that thing. So like a 2-5-1 could work there. Like I'm just kind of messing around. So maybe I'll do like a 2-5-1 set to F minor. So like you're in C minor, but let's say you want to go 2-5-1 to another chord. That's a way to do like kind of chaining together 2-5-1s. So like let's say, I'm just going to do this slowly. So let's say we want to go, our progression is C minor, and we want to go 2-5-1 to A flat major. So the flat 6 chord in C minor. So then we might do, let's see, how would I do that? Probably, yeah, so B flat minor 7. You could even do like a diminished version of that. And then let's say we want to go minor 2-5-1 to the F minor, which is normally the 4 chord in C minor. So then I might go and that might resolve really nicely to C sharp or D flat major 7. So there I just chained together two 2-5-1 cadences. And we can kind of get into that with the keyboards, because I know that sounds like gibberish. But once you start like chaining 2-5-1s together, it immediately makes the sound really interesting. But think about it, 2-5-1. You've got 3 chords that you can put into a triplet phrase. And that's kind of like where things kind of get interesting. I'm going to see if I can play. I'm a guitar player, but I'm going to see if I can do it. I'm just going to record it actually without metronome, then we'll just dial it in. So we have, we'll start with our C minor. This pickup is not necessary. B flat minor 7. Passing to A flat major 7. G half diminished. C dom. F minor 7. And what did we say before? Oh yeah, we could go to the D flat major 7. Okay, so we've got a bunch of chords. We've made a mess. Now let's figure out what we're going to do with it. So we go in, and I could actually set my grid in Ableton on the MIDI screen to triplet form as well. I don't know why it's not showing. It usually shows in the bottom right. Is that with the new update? They took that away? Not sure how I feel about that. How did we do it before? Oh yeah, we had, so 2-5-1. So maybe let's do the 2-5-1s maybe on the ends of those phrases. That could be interesting. So let's say we go with, this might sound really weird or it might sound brilliant, which is usually the way it goes. 2-5-1 hits there. We'll let that A flat kind of ring out. And then we'll do 2-5-1 in that next measure. Then bring this over. And let that ring out. And then that will play there. Let's see where that lines up. And that looks like, yeah, it's kind of uneven. It's 5-bar phrase, but that's okay. We could get rid of this section if we want to. That's not a big deal. So we have this pattern. Play the 5 as a sus4 13. A sustained 4 chord, dominant 13. Is that what you mean? Because that would probably be. I'm not sure which chord you mean by the 5 chord though. But anyway, we've got this here, and because we actually got 2 5 chords, got two 5 1s. Oh, you know what? We could fix that by just pulling that over. So I'm kind of looping here just to kind of get us started. But what's cool about this is now is you could have your kick follow that, which is kind of interesting. And we could actually tighten up that phrase. So just move this out of the way and move this over here. So instead what I want to do here is I want to basically have this phrase and the kick happen over here. And we're going to move our chords over to follow suit. So I might just move this over here. Ooh, and then we could have something hit right there. Actually, that would be perfect. Let's kind of quantize things up. And then we got to probably just get rid of the sustain for now. It's kind of a habit. Whenever I play piano, I can't help but use the sustain pedal, even when I don't want to use it on purpose. It's funny. Just loop from there too. Here's the other phrase we were kind of playing around with. Kind of hits at a cool time too. Have that chord hit a little bit earlier. Strange because it keeps showing it as a later. I guess it wants me to think that it's that long, but you don't need it to be. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Putting the 2 5 1s on those triplet forms, you get some interesting results for sure. It's going to be more busy. I think that's one of the things about it. Like when you chain them together like that, it might be a little too, look how many chords I can play kind of sound, which, actually can kind of make people's eyes glaze over. But it's a lot of fun. And probably if you're backing it up with the other instruments in like a cool way you're arranging it, it's a lot of fun. And it's also an excuse too to like figure out 2 5 1s going to pretty much any key. Like 2 5 1 as a movement can send you anywhere. So before, like I was playing, turn my piano back on. Like I was just playing in C minor, but that idea that like you could use a 2-5-1 to go to really any chord, and one of the best ways to start is like go to any chord that's in your diatonic key. So in C natural minor, you have, you know, C minor, D half dim, E flat, F minor, G minor, A flat, B flat dominant, and C minor. So like learning how to go, and that's what we did there. So I did a 2-5-1 to A flat, a minor 2-5-1 to F minor, and that's like a great way to practice. But I know I'm kind of digressing. We should be just doing beats, but inevitably I just start talking about chords because it's like super fun. This is like actually an interesting loop though. It's just very busy, and I think the reverb like isn't helping it. So we could also just try switching out the instrument. Like I might grab, we could even make a piano too, just from scratch. Let's see why not. Let's see. What am I looking at here? It'll be interesting to hear it on strings as well. This is a pretty good one. Grab this piano. I like to do a lot of band passing on things to kind of push them out. Oh, that's why you can hear things kind of clashing there. Yeah, we don't want none of that. Let's just get rid of all this sustained stuff left over. That is useless. Sometimes it takes a little more working to get it to work. Gotta mess with it a little more. Actually, what's really cool is like building a lo-fi piano too. Once you have those chords in place, like the stuff you can do with the arranging of those chords following the triplet form is really interesting. So I'm going to show you an example. First, I'm going to make this piano like a little more lo-fi sounding. So I'll grab something to sort of put the modulation into it, so it's got more warble. And then we'll go like parallel processing. I just need to give it a little more dimension, not a lot though. I'm not trying to like make it really spacey because I want the definition of those chords. So we'll jump into something like this. Something a little more clean. And then I'm just going to convolve it maybe. Let's see. This thing's pretty cool. Convolution. There you go. And if we want to get some like vinyl sound in it, you get this thing for free, by the way. This thing's amazing. So I'm just messing it up even more. Oh, I see. I got it from Library of Congress. Nope. I did not. No copyright, no content ID is going to get me, you guys. No, they still are. They're still going to get you no matter what. They'll get you for like a bass note that sounds at the end of your track, and they'll accuse you of stealing it from Harry Styles or something. Like a bass note, really? Yeah. But so you don't have your tracks demonetized. Just make your own lo-fi piano, man. You know, learn a little. I don't know a lot of keyboards. You just kind of learn how to make something, and then you process it and commit it. Someone had a suggestion earlier. It was play the 5 as a sus4 13. That sounds interesting. Do some musical math, figure out which one that would be, though. So then we can bring in the bass. That pattern doesn't work, so we're going to match it up to what's going on in the track. Oh, now I need the pickup. Turn that back on. Sometimes I like to also kind of put them side by side so you can see where things aren't working. And that would mean right there. There we go. And that one's a little early because it's got to be... That's strange. Oh, I must have not quantized that piano. That's fine. We'll just slide it in. Don't have to be super strict about it. Yeah, it's interesting. And then you just add like we could add like a counter element to it. Let's say we'll just freeze that in. So the nice thing about this is because I did the 2-5-1s in the key of C minor. So in other words, my 2-5-1s, I'm not always following the key of C minor, but my landing chord, my one chord, is a chord within the key of C minor. When I make my counter elements, so in other words, you know, if I want to add like a counter melody, for instance, I know that I can generally write something in C minor. It's not going to hurt me. I'm not going to get thrown off too much by that modulation. Whereas sometimes people will modulate doing a 2-5-1 to a chord that's not in their original key, right? Which is very common in jazz. And then you're kind of modulating all over the place. And the music, it could be kind of, you have to really think about, almost have like a chart in front of you to see where you are in the tune. That's a lot of times the case with jazz, but not necessarily in this case, you know, because of that. So just like kind of a simple tip for counter melodies, I found that kind of helps a lot. Again, it's not related to beats. I know we're supposed to be just talking about just beats, but you know, sometimes I think of these things while we're just making stuff. Some people might find it interesting. You never know. Let's put unison on this. Why not? Throw that on there. Let's see. Triplet eighth notes. It's interesting. I kind of hear a note hitting a low G there. I just want to mess with this a little bit more. We can push it back a little more. Just trying to place it a little more in the mix. It's subtle. I could probably go into actually, like what's really cool too is Atmosphere just has all this stuff kind of built in. Just sort of knock stuff off here. Kind of nice and warm. Just throw that in. What's kind of interesting is like we're fleshing out the beat using counter elements, and when I kind of look at the MIDI on that counter element, I'm quantizing it back to triplet form. So the beat has this kind of like unified direction around triplet sounds, which is really useful for making things sound cohesive and together. Because right, you could like have triplet hi-hats, but then you start putting a delay on there and you forget that it's in like a regular straight 8th or straight 16th note subdivision. And then things start to flam or just sound a little bit disjointed, which you might like. But yeah, so maybe add something just so like almost like a riser. I can like literally hear the note that I want to do, so we just put that in. It could be a cello. Why not? Taking a risk with this one, but it's all right. This is not going to work, but who cares? I already know it's not going to sound right. Prove myself wrong. It's so random sounding. It makes no sense. It's just like, here's a cello. Let's see. Maybe just make it smoother. Here's a cello doing a random articulation. Never even used these. I think it registers. The secret to music production. Clicking on lots of things. So that's kind of cool. Like I could probably turn that into something interesting, but I just wanted that note there. Just as a sound, you know? Like I might even just take that and it's almost like you're using it like a sample. Or you'd adjust a sample and change it around a little bit. So now I got my cello sample and push this back here and then process it. There's a lot of cool, man, there's so many new plugins out these days. I realized Native Instruments put out like a lot of really crazy stuff. Be fun to throw it on the stream just now for people to check out for themselves. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is like it's not a shimmer reverb. I don't think. It's just got like, it's very interesting. I love the sounds that it does. Like, here, just hear it soloed. Well, that does kind of sound like a shimmer. It's kind of like shimmer. It's like Valhalla shimmer. Really nice diffusion sound. Although this preset has a horrible pre-delay. Not sure about that pre-delay. Decay, diffusion, size, huge size. Really cool. It's got a weird pre-delay on it though. I'm not sure about that pre-delay. I just want it to just mix in there. Interesting. Pretty aggressive. sounds like waves. Yeah. I got to figure out how to use it. I just recently discovered that one. It's got like the pre-delay. There's got to be a way to get rid of that pre-delay, unless you just have to print the full mix and then push it back. But there really should be a pre-delay on that thing. But yeah, super fun. And we can just mix and just resample that together. Someone asked a comment in the chat recently about printing stuff. I basically do it because it's a lot easier on my CPU. Like, I don't have a fancy computer with like the latest CPU kind of grade, I guess. But also it allows me to kind of commit to sounds, which I find actually helps me with my mixes. You know, I'll make some horrific mistakes as well doing that, but it tends to help me, like, committing sounds. Unless I know I need recall, right? Unless, like, you know you need to go back and change something later on for like a if you're working on like a video game or a TV show or something. You're doing a mix for a podcast, you probably want to keep everything the same. But yeah, I just like print it all in. We call this cello wave. It's kind of cool. And then I think the snare is, you could still do a lot of stuff with the snare. So I have a really quick little splash right after it that's on a triplet repeat. But you could have a lot of fun with these. Like, you could take a delay and just put it on its own chain, full mix, like full wet. Maybe we'll go ping pong, triplet 8th, and triplet 16th. And then we'll just solo that. It's almost like kind of a weird panning effect. And then you can kind of listen to the way it's repeating without the original signal. Then we'll bring in then the original signal. Then the drums. Music. So it's cool. Like, once you build the drums and you're kind of looking for everything to follow those drums, it goes a long way. It definitely goes a long way in the beat. Someone asked how to mix up EDM with lo-fi. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Yeah, how to mix up EDM with lo-fi. That's a great question. I mean, I think isn't EDM is like EDM is a lot of things, right? So, I mean, technically, you could say that like this beat is mixing EDM with lo-fi because I've got a synthesizer on it. And, you know, we use synthesizers in ambient music and IDM and basically all kinds of different forms of EDM, techno and house and all that, right? But probably I would say it's a great question because I think a lot of times EDM, like especially as it is on the radio, is house or some kind of like derivative of it. So that's a really interesting question. We could try something kind of cool today with that because house is house is like you might think is the opposite of triplets because it has a kick that's on every downbeat, essentially every quarter note. But maybe since we're in 60 BPM on this session, we'll make it every eighth note, right? So I could take this and you think of it in terms of like, oh, we're making a lo-fi house track, right? So this is going to sound faster. Oh, that's my hi-hat. Whoops. That's not what we want. This is a nice kick too because it's very solid, so you can see here, this is from the Late Night Noir pack. Find that link in the description below. And that's playing. So this is like a cool starting place for house, right? It's just straight kick on the downs. But house can have a snare in it. So once we have that straight kick, we'll just bring in our snares. Listen to that. You know, realistically, you'd probably have to pick up the tempo a little bit more too. It'd probably have to be more like, I would say maybe 65. Or maybe even 63. Let's try 63. And then what we typically do is we grab the hi-hat, and we put those on the weak beat or the upbeat or the upstroke. So with that snare, because I have so much straight rhythm, like I've got the kick on the down, the hi-hat on the up, they kind of want to work really just with each other. When you add in that triplet, it's sort of presenting a different rhythmic idea than what the kick and the hi-hat are trying to enforce. So a lot of times in house, what they'll do is they'll put on parallel delays like we did in the tracks before, but it will be synced to straight rhythm, 16ths, quarter notes, whatever. Also dotted rhythm. So that's kind of the difference. Not to say that we couldn't find a syncopation that works with a triplet. So like, let's say, grab this, just turn this off, grab this one, bring this over. So we have our snares still hitting. But in this case here, we'll go over to our delay chain and we'll make sure this is so that one little splash of that triplet eighth works on the snare. That sort of skipping triplet parallel delay is like a little too much, but might actually sound fine if we just right. And now you've kind of got something. So I just kind of reach for lo-fi house because I do feel like if you're a lo-fi hip hop producer or you like producing lo-fi hip hop beats, like lo-fi house is a lot of fun because the sound design is very similar, or can be. So yeah, you can kind of have fun with it. Maybe we'll grab, let's see, something that sounds sort of, actually, you know what? Let's just build something. Why not? Go in, grab wavetable. But yeah, so we're still using a triplet form. It's just more used as ghost notes, which, like, kind of the beginning of the stream, if you're just joining us, we kind of use triplets in a format where they were done in parallel delays. So just creating ghost notes with triplets can take you really far. You don't have to write a very sophisticated beat on the triplet grid right away. But you can go back, watch the VOD. We'll also have a stream highlights video that will be ready for this later on. So you can go back and watch the stream in a quick edit to get some of those ideas as well. So yeah, let me just I'm going to put together like a bass. Let me see, is this on? There we are. You could literally start with a sine wave and a lot of house stuff, right? So let's see. I even just do it like a house producer would. Funky sounding. I'm not gonna lie. It's sort of house, but I know I'm gonna get someone angry. It's somewhere in house. Is it house? Might be a shack instead of a house, but we might get there. Oh, here's an idea. If I can find it. Find it for you guys. I've got an M1 floating around in here. See if I can load it though. Ganesh, we're kind of messing around. This isn't, yeah. See, I told you guys I was gonna get someone angry. It's not really house. Like the original question was, someone said, how do you mix EDM with lo-fi. And then I just went, maybe house, So, but we were doing triplets. So I'm being real clever right now, trying to put all these ideas together. These were from an original beat earlier, and then I just put like a triplet delay on it. I told you guys I was gonna get someone was gonna get pissed, but that's just the way it is. So no, we're not really following all the electronic music rules. We could though. We could do that. In fact, it probably would sound better. Thank you. So I'm just getting this bass figured out here. It's grooving a little bit. It's a little bit grooving. Now I'm going to be super corny. Take this all the way back to 94. That was not it. Oh, right, because we're in 60. That's why the count's so slow. There you go. Trying to slam it. Okay. Yeah, we were kind of doing triplets. It's there. You can hear it in the ghost notes. They're weird ghost notes, but like the thing is, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like house is so, because it's so solid on the bottom that like any syncopation you can add is welcome. So like, yeah, it's really fun. And this just came from someone in chat too. They had a question about that. But it doesn't have to be house either. It could be another genre. I'm not like an expert at EDM or anything. But Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You could even do it like, I think lo-fi is a lot about like the chords and the sort of jazz aesthetic, or just like the sound design. Maybe slower tempo, more chilled out, less aggro. But like you could do it with, like, if you think about it, you could do it with any genre. You could do tech house as lo-fi. You could take drill and do lo-fi. I did, just for kicks, I did a drill lo-fi beat. It's at the end of a tutorial I just put out in my video area of the channel, and just to show, like, hey, you can experiment and just try two ideas together. It's not going to give you a pure genre sound, but who cares? It's about just having fun. So those are the triplets kind of splashing in the background. We could probably make them louder too, right? I'm just going to let this run for a second. I got to grab something. I'll be right back. gonna get in trouble for making house during a lo-fi hip hop stream. But yeah, that's fun. I love house. House is so much fun. It's so chill. That's just my opinion though. Like, I feel like lo-fi hip hop and house, they're just, I don't know, they just work. They live somewhere in the same world. I know they're different worlds, but they live somewhere together. It's a lot of fun. But I don't want to digress. I'm notorious for digressing, so we're gonna get out of that. We could take that melody though, and just make it more hip hop sounding, just through the syncopation. So take our snare kick elements. Probably one of the funnest ways to understand like what that difference is. So I'm not even gonna switch out. Like I'll keep these two elements, you know. But then let's make it sound, give it that groove, man. Let's see. Start with the kick. Oh, I didn't even have a snare. Where's our snare? Where'd that thing go? Bring that over. But yeah, if you're just joining us, thanks for joining. Feel free to leave a comment in the chat. Say hello. Even if you just want to say hello, feel free to. We've had some great ideas from people in the chat today. It's been really interesting. I actually appreciate it too, because when we're trying to figure stuff out together, I think some of the easiest or the most fun stuff happens, you know. Just turn this off so my computer doesn't explode. And then I'm going to turn off the delays for a second. We'll get the triplet delay going. And then we got to move this snare somewhere else now. It's going to be interesting to A/B this, right? Get a sound going. Let's keep it dead simple too, and then we'll get clever with it. Triplet idea in the kick. So those ghost notes now kind of resemble a drummer accenting on the hi-hat physically, right? Such different feels though, right? Let's move them over. Let's put them side by side. It's kind of cool though, like if you're making a track, maybe you're not trying to do something for a library or a publisher or Chilled Cow or something, like you're just trying to do your own thing. This is low key like a really fun way to do A and B sections, or you want to have a bridge to your song, but you're not trying to like just reach for a random chord progression to change it up with. You could just go this direction, right? So you can kind of switch it up. I almost feel like I'm trolling you guys right now. I'm not trying to. Just so you guys know, I'm seeing like a lot of message retracted in the chat. I have no idea what that is. So if I'm not seeing your message, I'm sorry. I have no idea what that means. It's just saying message retracted for like, you know. I first saw that. It's in my chat. I don't know if it's in your guys' chat though. So if that's happening, like, I don't know. Unless you guys see that, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Like, you could kind of use the lo-fi hip hop as a breakdown for the house track or vice versa, right? Because it just changes the feel so much. But both of them are using triplets in our ghost notes. So all our syncopation we're creating through mostly our triplet delays. And the chords are also configured along triplets. So we've done a bunch of those examples too. And that's been a ton of fun. So yeah, and of course you can pick up a lot of these samples that you're hearing today. Like all my drums, they're coming from the same pack. It's Late Night Noir, which is a lo-fi hip hop sample pack, or lo-fi R&B, and you can pick that up. It's got tons of drums, very usable sounds. That's in the link in the description below. You'll find my website. I've got all kinds of sounds on there, and I actually have some new products coming out pretty soon, so keep your eye out for that. Probably do some streams based on that kind of stuff too. It should be super fun. But it's cool. Like you can hear, you have the kicks on the ends here, and they're doing a triplet form. So like it works really well on tails. Like you can do the triplets on the ends of the beats, and it's going to add a ton of ideas to what you're doing. Oh, you were okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know if you retracted them or not. I don't know if that was like a weird YouTube thing that they do. I used to stream on Twitch like during lockdown, like years ago, and I don't know. Twitch is all right, but it was kind of weird. There wasn't much of a music section at that time, and but YouTube seems like it's got like pretty good consistency in the connection, because I haven't gotten too many complaints about the sound. So one idea I think we could try that might also be really cool is have an instrument that follows the chords. So not necessarily a counter melody, but like a counter chord idea that follows off of what this is doing. So we're hitting A flat major 7, what's that? G minor 7, F minor 7, I think. I think that's what it is. Oh no, that's a B flat minor 7. B flat minor 7, G. Oh, I think I was just doing a 2-5-1 here. Yeah. Can't remember what I played. To F minor 7. Okay. So what we could try to do is have the chords follow that structure, but do it in triplets. So you have a counter element with chords doing triplets. And I'm not even sure what the sound would be. We'll just grab a piano. Maybe a different piano than the M1. Yeah, YouTube's not bad. The stream is usually pretty solid. I think actually the only problem I had with YouTube was it was me. My settings were weird. I was trying to I don't know why. I was streaming at 60 FPS and I didn't even know it. So I was like, I'm not sure why I was streaming at 60 FPS. That's more for like video games. But once I fixed that, our stream, I think today is like the best day so far. Although I did mess up in the beginning of today. But again, that's just like, I didn't know you had to hit another button to go live. So, that's just me. I make mistakes all the time. But yeah, this is pretty cool. So you could have a chord. Nothing too dense, because like a prior example was okay, but it moved around harmonically so much that's a little bit like, it could be almost overwhelming to the ear. So maybe we'll try. I remember we're doing triplet form, so one count along to it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 triplet 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 triplet, something like that. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. And it's really not even technically chords. It's kind of just backing up the idea of the triplet form. So you can see here on my grid, triplet form on the grid, and it's hitting in those triplet eighths. But it's fun. You're kind of thinking, like you're always thinking in terms of triplets. So the vocabulary of the music can change. It's not just in the beats. That's, in my opinion, that's kind of where a lot of the fun happens. Because now you can really have a lot of fun with it when you're making your music. What if we took this thing and tried it over the house beat? What would it sound like? Well, it's competing with the other counter melody, but kind of interesting too, because you realize in house you gotta be really strict with where notes end, not just begin, because then it kind of just doesn't follow the groove as much as you want it to. So I gotta be really aware of that. It works, in that context. It's interesting. Probably I would say I would change that part for this to just make it more like it doesn't have to be as repetitive. In the lo-fi hip hop examples, I might just go in here and just mess with it. You know, just kind of. They're kind of fighting with each other. I might remove one, take the other, so you can kind of switch them up a little bit. See here on replica for the M1 piano, that's using dotted, and dotted sounds good with house. I like it with house, but so you know I might do that as well, and then they'll maybe mesh a little bit better together. Of course, I'm digressing a little bit, but this is going to space it out more too. It's cool. You can even be kind of crazy with this too. Like you could go in and like just kind of beef out the signal. Like here, I'll do something. This will be the original. So we keep the processing that we had it before. And then on this one, go in and just make the signal pretty crushed. So it's kind of overwhelming sounding. And then it's almost like you're creating like this layer of sounds that you can LFO it. Grab this thing. I'm producing house again. It's supposed to be lo-fi hip-hop. I can't help it. It's too much fun. So it's sort of, it's messy. It's kind of messy. But you get the idea. Like I kind of smash it. And then we gotta clean it up. That's all it is. Even just put a It's fun though. So all those triplets, if you can manage all those triplet delays, you can mix triplet delays with, you can mix them with dotted eighth note delays, but you just have to be like very aware of it. But that's the thing, like lo-fi house, lo-fi hip hop, both genres work really well with it. It makes it tons of fun. You can go jump in and try this for yourself as much as you want. I think a lot of times, like, I never touched triplet grid before until I started to see this approach, and it really helped me just open up my rhythmic creativity, imagination. So now we're going to go and troll everyone. Genre shift. It's crazy how different they are. Thanks, Ganesh. I saw your comment. Thanks for checking out the stream too. It's fun, right? It has a whole different kind of vibe to it. Definitely got to add, let's see. I'd love to add that one extra stomp. Interesting sounds here, right? Pretty fun. So another thing that's really cool about this is when you get out of the DAW. So there's a lot of ways to sequence drums besides just doing, I mean, of course, like FL has the channel rack. Ableton has your MIDI clip menu down there, and you can put the audio samples on the screen like I'm doing now. I tend to like veer in this direction because if I want to do really quick pitch changes or reverses, I'm used to doing it sort of in this side of the screen on both Ableton and FL, but it's up to you. using a third-party software to sequence your drums gives you a lot of workflow options. So we can get into some of that. There's definitely some crazy plugins I'd love to get into on one of these streams one of these days. But I'm just going to pull up one that is kind of, I don't see a lot of like YouTube content that talks about it. I don't think I've ever seen a YouTube video talk about this particular plugin, but in my opinion, it's very stable. Like a lot of people talk about, it's called Break Tweaker by Isotope. That's a great one. People love Gross Beat, which is not really a sequencer. It's more of like a glitch machine thing in FL that's really good. There's a plugin called Geist. And it's a great example of like, using a sequencer. Because the interface is really designed for experimentation. So, and you can do that in lo-fi hip hop. You have that ability. So maybe we'll run this parallel with our original lo-fi hip hop beat that we've been messing around with here. We'll go into here. So we have our lo-fi hip hop beat. And for me, like, Geist is kind of GOAT status because it's very stable and it works in coordination with your DAW. So you can even go in and you can have song layer mode and it will sync up just fine to your DAW. So it's really great. But what's cool about it is you can do a lot of really interesting things. So for instance, we'll go in, we'll grab some stuff. Maybe let's grab some different sounding drums. Like I'll use, let's see here. Maybe we'll use Night Flights, which is like an R&B pack. And that has a whole drum section in there as well. These are all kind of loops in here. That one's wild. Let's go with one shots though. So we'll try. We'll start with some rim shots. We just load into the pad here on the bottom. Then we'll start with these first. So super quick. You can load them in. And where things get interesting is when you go into the effect layers. And this is very similar to like if people use Logic Pro, you might notice the, I think it's called the sequencer track. It's basically like a drum machine thing and you can do all these different kinds of things. So like if you're ever getting into lo-fi hip hop and you want to have more processing abilities on the drums, this thing is like amazing. It's a very old plugin, but it's really great. And something that I'll do is I'll literally just go into repeats. So you can go in and maybe make these things threes, and they'll be glitchier sounding, basically. And then what I'll do is I'll go in and grab the delay. So I've given the delay like a very unique signal that then I can mess around with and create interesting ideas with. Like, let's even just grab like a different kind of delay. This thing's pretty cool. So you can see here you have the different delays, and I believe there is a triplet setup on here. Let's see. There's on the bottom. It's weird, you have to kind of grab it. Ping pong. And let's just solo this for now. This is going to be like a really distinct element, right? You see with the 16 triplets on that hi-hat. So even if it's sounding still kind of random, I can go in and now just adjust that and kind of hear the way it's responding to the delay, and it's immediately going to give me options. So you can't actually see it. We could just print it into an audio track. But that's like a really fun way to use a sequencer to just do something distinct. Essentially, I think a lot of times it works great for percussion sounds because I just took some rim shots, right? I just wanted something different sounding. Whoops. Let's see, why isn't this playing? That's on, and let's see. Let's make sure that plays. Something I might do on this one just to change up the feel a little bit, because this is like an M1 piano. We were just messing around with Lo-Fi house earlier and stuff like that. So I might do to switch it up, take this M1 and make it like a more of a Lo-Fi piano sound. This is kind of cool. Like you could You know what? Let's take that flavor and we'll just take it in that direction. I might even just keep all of the delay and reverb. I like all of that. Let's try something like this. So this thing is so distinct right here. It's such a weird syncopation, but I would never have gotten there if I didn't use the sequencing into the delay and then just kind of used my ear to mess with it. And you could push this back too. You could make this more subtle because it is lo-fi hip hop, so you could kind of go in and I'm just lazy. I just band pass. Now it's very subtle and soft. Yeah, I just use those rim shots. Those are just from like a lo-fi R&B pack I made about a year ago. And just using a sequencer to go in. And you can get, like if you're an Ableton user, you can get sequencers on Max for Live. They're out there. They're for free. You don't need a complicated one. But one that can give you triplet repeats is really useful. And then using triplet delays. And you're going to get all these very distinct syncopations that just sound very unique, very beautiful. It's all unified together. You can see we got the triplet and the kick over there. That's really accentuating that sound. It's a color. It's a rhythmic color. So this whole thing is just enhanced with triplet subdivisions and triplet ghost notes and all kinds of stuff. It just has a sound. We just add some bass to this maybe. By the way, thank you everyone for all the likes and comments on the stream. I really appreciate it. It goes a massive long way for people to actually find the content and the information. So hitting the like button, you have no idea how much it supports me. Thank you so much for tuning in, even just for a minute. Saying hello, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the free stuff in the description. Free downloads all over the place. Check them out, download them, use them, be inspired. Hope you all are having a nice Tuesday out there. Hope you all are happy and safe. Alright, let's try and lay down some bass on this. That's not bass. See right there, I'm following the kicks triplet pattern with the bass. Make sure we quantize that correctly. I don't know why, but I'm actually thinking that we could add a choir to this. It's such a weird idea, but it's like, who knows, right? Let's see. You can play voices like a keyboard. It just kind of sounds. I'll take it. Super corny, I know. I don't know why, it just kind of works. Maybe we can bring in that other M1. Just to add the color. This is kind of becoming more vaporwave, but that's alright. Kind of cool. What's another thing we could add? I'm kind of just taking this example and running with it because I got to run out the door pretty soon. Let's see, what else could we add to it? Oh, I kind of have an idea. If we're gonna go full vaporwave and completely ignore the stream description for new people coming in, we could kind of go that direction. I have just the way to do it too, since we're just talking about it. Do I have my... Here we go. All right, we're just gonna go full vaporwave just for kicks. My computer might explode, but we'll see how that goes. And by the way, there will be a highlight video for all of this stuff. Probably coming out like about 2 or 3 days from now. Just because it takes some time for me to edit videos. I edit all my own videos, so kind of putting it all together as we speak. So the last one we did, we had a really fun stream where we did we did tons of melody writing, and a lot of people had great stuff in the comments section about it, so it was a lot of fun. I'm planning on doing more streams where we just do melody writing, because I feel like, similar to doing triplet beats, we could break down a lot of great ideas for people just talking about melodies. Right, because not everyone plays keyboards. I'm not really a keyboard player, but not everyone can play keyboards physically, so they're writing it in with the mouse. And that kind of presents like not just challenges, but like you kind of have to think about melodies in different kinds of ways. So I want to make streams where we really talk about writing better melodies for everyone. It doesn't have to be, those aren't things that have to be secrets. There is definitely music theory that's going to help you get there. But even if you're, taking a simplified approach, or you're trying it out in a different scale, or maybe you're using MIDI packs to get you there. So using a MIDI pack to get you started, also learning how you can, a lot of tricks to using MIDI packs as well. All that stuff is very useful. So I think we're going to do another melody type stream probably next week, or even like this weekend if I have time. Because there's a bunch of stuff we pointed out in that last stream that were like really useful stuff to dive into. And I want to do more of that in the future. So hopefully we'll get there. I think melody streams, though, are really cool. Today we're just doing kind of drums, and then we're building from it just for fun. But yeah. All right. I think we're going to end the stream there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much for the likes, the comments, subscriptions to the channel. Appreciate all that stuff. You have no idea how long away it goes. Just hitting the like button does a ton for the channel. So thank you for showing up, saying hello. Love the comments. Love to hear from you guys. I'll have a stream highlight up for this later on, so you can check that out if you want to check out the edited version of today or you missed the VOD. Also hit the bell icon if you haven't already. That way you don't miss any of this content when it comes out. And I guess we'll just leave it there for today. Thank you all. I'm going to try to attempt to run my stream outro without messing everything up. And yeah, we'll leave it there. Hope you all have a great Tuesday, and I'll catch you all later. Take care.